What about when an adult employee misgenders you intentionally?
While he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
From collecting genders and identities like they're infinity stones to victimizing themselves and throwing fits over absolutely nothing, here's what these ultra woke people did to get humbled and featured on our channel. The moment you start making sense in front of them, suddenly they're over it.
Can you identify as a black person?
No,
Why?
because I'm not black.
I'm not a woman, but I can identify as a woman according to you.
If you transition, maybe.
What defines a transition?
If that's your goal, you know?
If you believe it.
Sure.
If you believe you're black, why aren't you black?
Well, that's just not, that's like genetics. That's like ancestry.
You're also born a man or a woman. It's the same thing. That's also genetics.
Okay, I'm over it.
So much mental gymnastics, and for what? That's what happens when you're too privileged and don't have enough problems in your life. You start creating them from scratch.
Men do not menstruate. Only women menstruate. Now, you can call yourself whatever you want.
Cis men don't menstruate, but trans men do menstruate.
No,
Same
they
as
don't.
non-binary people.
Only women.
Menstruating is not exclusive
Yes,
to
it
cis
is.
women. No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
So explain to me as to why my body menstruated at
if
some
your
point
chromosomes are XX and you're young, you menstruate. If you're XY, you don't.
Correct, but what about trans men and non-binary?
They're
We're
not
excluding
men.
a whole group of
They're
people
women
that
dressed
menstruate.
as men.
Well, what's a man to you? You define a man for me.
You have chromosomes that are X and Y. That's what a man is.
So why are we just looking at the science of this as an
The
example
science.
when we've learned sex and gender identity are they're completely different things.
They're not completely
They
different
are
things.
completely different.
Completely different words.
Sex is what you're born with, the sexual reproductive organs you have. Gender is what you identify with. They're completely
Well, I don't
different
accept that
things.
distinction. You have to argue for it. You're just giving a conclusion.
As soon as I get the thing straightened out, we all know that's code for I ain't doing it.
That also plays into the systematic stuff that I was talking about, because a lot of women can't get jobs in construction.
Have you ever tried to be a concreter?
No, but I totally would.
Okay, why aren't you?
Because I'm not educated on it.
Why don't you
BNA.
go and get educated on concreting?
I totally would. Like, as soon as I get things straightened out,
Sure.
I want a different field.
Well,
I'm tired of the
Let
medical field.
me tell you this, and you can disagree with me if you'd like. You wouldn't last 2 minutes as a concreter, because unfortunately...
I'd like to try to prove people wrong.
In the modern world, you can think that all you want, and that's because your life is so comfortable that you can have that strain of thought. But the fact of the matter is that I did concreting for a few months, and I didn't last, and I'm not a weak guy. But these guys are some of the hardest people you'll ever meet in your life. They are up at the crack of dawn every day, breaking their backs.
Oh,
You
yeah.
would not last a single day. You can sit here and say girl power all you'd like, you wouldn't last a day, I guarantee it.
The woke barista pandemic needs to be discussed more. So much whining, and all because they have to do their job that they get paid for.
Absolutely not. Don't ever call me transphobic. Ever. You do not know me.
You're being transphobic, Karen. Now
Do
get out.
not call me transphobic.
You are
Ever.
transphobic. Now get
I
out.
want a refund.
You're not having one, dude. Please.
Actually, you bastard.
Give me the phone. You want some? Give me the phone. Let go of me. Give me the phone. I've got plenty of witnesses. Give me the phone. I said, let go of me.
So they can create genders and other pronouns out of the blue, but if someone uses their constitutional right, it's an issue? Make it make sense.
What about when an adult employee misgenders you intentionally?
While he's talking, you're talking.
You just misgendered me again.
Okay,
Multiple times.
gotcha.
Both of you have.
Wasn't intentional, but if you want to take it personal, that's also.
Well, she did do it intentionally
Gotcha.
twice.
You're talking to me too.
You said she and then you said he.
You're being condescending, and if you want to continue, I have full authority to escort you out the building right this moment. If you want to play that game with me.
Okay.
Would you like to continue 3 days before Christmas? I really don't mind.
I'm good. I'll just put this on.
The sheer luck and privilege these people have is that they consider this to be an act of violence. Someone tell them that outside their bubble, violence is far more devastating.
So what gender do you think you are?
Well, I'm a male.
Okay, well, I think you're a woman.
No, legally I'm a male.
Oh,
It says on my driver's license that I'm a male.
okay, so that's your sex.
No, it's yeah, but I'm also a
That's your
male.
sex. That's your sex.
It says on my carrier
So,
certificate that I'm a
what
male.
if I said I
Gender.
don't
Some legal
believe you?
documentation say gender.
What if I say I don't believe you?
It doesn't matter.
Exactly, it doesn't matter if you don't believe me.
No, it doesn't matter because biologically,
What gender do you think I am?
I would assume you're female.
Yeah, see, you're making assumptions.
Yes.
I identify as non-binary.
I don't respectfully. It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
Now, let me ask you this. What would you say if I
It matters what pronouns you use for me. It matters how I'm socialized in society. It matters my gender expression. It matters the way that I'm allowed to express myself. It matters what bathroom I use. It matters who I'm allowed to live with. It affects every aspect of my life. So you saying...
What pronoun should I use?
You should use they, them pronouns. So you saying that you
and
don't
what if I don't?
me...
What if I don't?
If you don't, I would consider that disrespectful, and that's actually an act of violence to misgender a trans person.
It's an act of violence.
That is an act of violence to intentionally misgender someone, yes.
Here we come to the issue, and this is why I'm out here. You just said that's an act of violence. That means it's an actionable offense. That means it's a crime. So you believe that for me...
I didn't say it's a crime. I said it's an act of violence.
An act of
There's
violence.
a lot of things that are not considered crimes that are acts of violence.
Okay, so you believe it's a non-aggressive act of violence.
I think that, okay, when you misgender someone, if you were to misgender a trans woman...
Yes.
Trans women, especially trans women of color, are have the highest rate of murder within the LGBT community, right? So if you were to intentionally misgender a trans woman, that could put her at risk of murder. You understand that? Because people think because you're trans...
I don't understand.
I think that really does show that you're privileged in the situation then.
Yes, I believe we're both...
I think you're extremely privileged in the situation that you don't have to experience that, or that you don't have to worry about that, or consider that you don't feel like you need to respect people's pronouns.
I'm considering this and I'm asking you questions. You said these are the pronouns I need to use.
Yeah.
I said, what if I don't? You said that's an act of violence.
Yeah, I would consider that an act of violence against me.
Okay, so that's a crime.
I would consider that
an act of violence against you is a crime.
I would consider that.
So,
I would consider you being disrespecting me as a person, and that's not okay, and that's not even ethical. It doesn't matter if it's legal; it's not ethical. And I don't know how you can do something that's considered unethical.
I don't know how you can not allow me to speak and ask questions based on your own premises. Please, we're trying to keep this civil. I haven't yelled at you. I haven't accused you of anything. You're getting very heated. You said that's an act of violence. That's a crime.
They claim to be women, but seem to get inspiration from other trans people. Sounds like a skill issue.
I honestly don't feel that you would engage in this conversation in good faith.
Then why are you here? Why did you stand up to talk to me if you don't want to have a conversation? You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
That's fine. All right. So first of all, listening to transgender people, and it was like, okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, like a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being like, it feels like they're talking about somebody else. It means feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys, even when you have a lot of friends. And I was active in Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout. I had great masculine role models my whole life. And yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting. You're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
So
trans women are women, you would say, right?
And to think thousands of women all over the world become borderline suicidal because of the depression and fertility causes. And this man wants to harvest a completely healthy uterus and rub it in their faces that he can have a child and then abort it and they can't even conceive.
Trans woman to have a successful uterus transplant, ovaries and eggs included. And I want to be the first trans woman to have an abortion.
Genuinely doubt that a guy would have to announce the fact that he's a guy on a speakerphone.
This is kind of scary because I only realized this a couple of days ago and I've only come out to a few people. I'm a guy. I use he, they pronouns and I'm gonna go by Theo. I told my mom today and I have to go home every day and be called my dead name and have she, her pronouns used every time I go home. And no one realizes how hurtful it is. It's like a slap in the face. And I dyed my hair last night so I could feel more masculine, and I was afraid I was gonna get thrown out of the house. We love you, Theo. We love you.
That's probably the most accurate identification they've done.
I'm trans, your kid's trans, show me some respect. Did you ever consider setting up somewhere for us to actually speak? No, you didn't. So we're doing it ourselves.
This is not a church. This is not a church. I'm here. You can leave.
And the same goes for you.
Trans people.
Why can't you allow both sides of the issue to talk?
How long is this going to go on with you guys not controlling the meeting? Control the meeting and get them out.
So what it seems like is that as if you want free speech, as long as it benefits you, as long as you get what you want.
Turns out all the misogyny and femicide in the world can be eradicated by politicians wearing heels. So silly of us to think it had anything to do with law enforcement or policy making. Whoopsie.
All right. No. Can no one move? Okay. Oh, excellent. Can you guys both bounce? My heels are killing me. Yeah.
You want 400 and what?
I think I can probably bounce. Or not.
Lose your heel.
That would be awesome.
Someone tell these people that staying out of jail is not as hard as they think it is. You just have to be a half-decent person.
When I think of the model minority myth, I grew up wanting to be white. I hate that about myself. Like, it is so embarrassing.
Okay, so statistically, it is true that Asians, right, on average, make more money, in terms of medium, make more money, better test scores, get into better colleges, all that stuff. I think the question is, why is that? And I don't know, model minority, whatever that label wants to mean.
That's actually a myth because we cannot be...
Well, no, listen, well, let me finish my point. We need to observe what makes people successful and unsuccessful. And I think when you look at trends that are generally true in the Asian community, not of everyone, but are generally true, usually you have families that are sticking together, you have, people are taught to work hard in school, not get into trouble. I think that translates to why Asians en masse are successful. And I don't think you have to be Asian or white for that matter to not have kids out of wedlock, not, commit crime, not cause trouble, whatever it is. It's just a matter of common sense. That's what makes people successful. And if that's so-called assimilation, having a nuclear family, buying a house, going to school, whatever it is, then yeah, okay, call me a pro-assimilation.
You know you're a snowflake when you feel victimized by the mere presence of a person.
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who actively feel victimized by your presence here today? Additionally, you just pointed out that this man detransitioned, but earlier in your speech...
Guys, I want to hear her. Go ahead. What do I have to say? Just the question, please. No speech. What is the question?
What do you have to say to the trans students on this campus who feel actively victimized by your presence here?
Life's tough. Get a helmet, man. I'm too pregnant for this. Next question. My goodness. Seriously, somebody just give out free hugs or something somebody give out free hugs. I can't be your mommy.
Love how she's going so far back in history where there's no actual evidence of her claims against factuality-backed research that negates whatever drama they're trying to sell.
It's historical knowledge that there were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
I really don't think that's historical knowledge, but here's what I'll answer. I don't think that there were trans Native Americans. I will educate myself on the trans Native Americans that were running around America. But here's what I'll say: Native Americans were also cannibals. Did you know that fact? Did you educate yourself on the fact?
All Native Americans were
cannibals? Should we just assume that it's natural for us to be eating humans because Native Americans were cannibals?
I really think that don't apply to what I'm asking at all.
It exactly applies to what you're asking. You're saying that you found a piece of historical knowledge, which I would genuinely love to fact check, that there were trans Native Americans of their trans names. Yes.
Bozen, Datese, Hastinkla, Oshtish, Wehwa.
These were trans Native Americans.
Yes.
Okay. I think what you're saying is that they probably found some that they thought that they had different spirits, because we know that Native Americans were incredibly spiritual. There's no question about that.
Are you not spiritual? You believe in God?
I do believe in God. Yes.
So
that doesn't make me believe in trans people. That doesn't make me believe that you can switch your parts. I don't believe they were performing surgeries. And you can let me know, but I don't believe that in Native American history they were performing surgeries trying to switch their genitals because they thought that they were born in the wrong body.
Is it just me, or did everyone notice how the girl's entire belief system fell apart and then stood right up again a few seconds right before she said no? Like, girl, you know you're confused there too.
For thousands of years, human beings existed, and there was no such thing as trying to medically transition people into another gender. And as far as we know, there was no suicide epidemic because of it. And then in the last few years, people like yourself have come along and said, we desperately need to do this or people will be in despair and they might kill themselves. So you are making a claim that contradicts common sense, science, biology, also the entire experience of the whole history of the human race. And so what that means is that the burden of proof is on you to support it. And so I'm going to ask you, you said that people need this stuff so they can live happier lives and potentially it'd be life-saving, you said even. Aside from your anecdotes of your friends who told you so, how do you know that?
Okay, so thinking back to when I was 16 in an anatomy class, when I learned that transgender people tend to have the brain structure that confirms their identity that they identify with. And you can look that up. That's a fact.
I will look that up.
Yeah, it's a fact.
I will look that up and I won't find it.
Yeah.
It's not a fact. It's not a fact.
Should we all pull out Google really quick and look?
So you're saying a trans man has the brain of a woman?
No. I'm saying that a trans man who identifies as a man will tend to have similar brain structure that a cis man would.
And where did you get that from?
Look it up. It's literally, I'm telling you, I learned it from my anatomy class.
Piers made so much sense, actually. Like, you don't see straight people shoving their straightness down everyone's throats. Why can't the guys be like that? Does every single thing really need a rainbow slapped on it that bad?
So actually what we're doing right now is just, I wouldn't even use the word celebrating. I think pride is a protest.
Is it a bit too much? In other words, do you want to...
What does that mean? What is too much?
In other words, I think with every campaign, bringing people with you is really important, right? The moment it looks like it's just over the top, like it's everywhere you go is pride, 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 pride. Do we need to be that exuberant about it?
Are you blaming gay people for that? I mean, it's
no.
not our fault the company.
Honestly, I don't care what sexuality anybody is. I don't think most people do anymore.
Right, so what is the problem then? Why are you so triggered by a flag?
I'll tell
It's
you
a
what
rainbow flag. You mentioned Regent Street.
I'm not triggered by a rainbow flag. I'm triggered by the fact that everywhere I go for a calendar month, everything has to be a rainbow flag.
Well, I'm triggered that everywhere I go for the entire year, everything has to be straight. Why is straight everywhere?
Where's my straight flag?
Why am I constantly
Where
getting
is my straight flag?
Why are straight people holding hands in the street?
When have you ever seen a straight flag?
Why is Mickey Mouse got a
Tell me
girlfriend?
one straight flag.
This is why this sort of stuff is so much less common among people of color. They've had to endure actual hardships and issues, so they didn't end up making fake ones like these weirdly woke and ultra-sensitive people.
Okay, is it okay if I touch you? Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, if I touch you.
Go right ahead.
Before we get started, do you mind if I touch you?
I'm also gonna cut my fucking hair.
Do you mind if I touch you?
Are you serious, bro? Just cut my hair.
Is it cool if I touch you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
It's usually just customary that I ask the person before I touch them.
Just cut it, cuz.
And what were your pronouns?
She, they.
She, they too.
Yay!
Look at us, we're twins.
He, him.
She, her.
And what are your pronouns?
Are you fucking serious, bro? Just cut my hair.
What are your pronouns? They, them. She, they. I'm glad we exchanged those.
Yes.
And what are your pronouns?
Listen, bro, I don't do that shit. Bro, don't fucking touch me. I'm out of here. Fuck off.
It's not a phase, Mom. Well, we sure do hope this is a phase because you won't be getting a lot of job offers looking like that.
As a non-binary person, what do you have to tell me about my identity? Because I know for a fact I'm not confused.
Okay, next question. Great statement. That's a statement. That's a statement. Okay, you know your identity. You're not confused. Congratulations, sweetheart. Thank you very much for your statement.
Wait a minute. A gay trans man? It's like a straight woman with extra steps. What's that even mean?
Why are y'all voting for Kamala Harris?
I don't want to lose my rights. Like, I'm a trans man and I'm gay and I have been pregnant and I've had an abortion before and I don't want to lose that. I'm afraid of not being able to be myself anymore because from what I've heard, Trump's America doesn't want me to look like this. So that's why I'm here today and that's why I'm voting blue.
With everything said and done, let me remind you that none of you people took my consent before watching the video, which personally feels like an act of violence.